Welcome to our channel. Today's story is one of silence, heartbreak, and truth. A moment frozen in time on a quiet park bench. What led her here? And what secret is she carrying? Stay with us as we uncover the raw emotion behind. A true infidelity story. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I would find myself entangled in a scenario like this. Once I would listen to tales like this and scoff in disbelief. But now it all makes sense. Transformation is a journey, not a swift arrival. It slinks in gradually, insidiously, until a single moment transforms into an indelible memory, forever beyond your grasp. For 6 years I have shared my life with a man of unwavering goodness, not a fervent lover, not one to shower with extravagant attention, but unwavering, devoted, and dependable. That extraordinary kind of good. The kind that remains oblivious, blind to the subtle shifts when you don a fresh outfit, or when silence envelopes you for days on end. For an eternity, I deluded myself into believing that was all I needed. From his first marriage, a son was born to him, Taylor. When I took the vow with his father, Tyler was just a boy of 15. Lofty, silent, remote. A quintessential teenager. Our bond was never particularly strong. Though we never collided, an unspoken barrier lingered between us, a respectful distance that defined our interactions. I let things unfold naturally. I believed that as he grew older, a deeper connection would inevitably blossom between us. At this moment, he stands at the threshold of 21. He returned to us for the summer, fresh from completing his junior year in college, ready to weave his presence into the fabric of our days. At first, the presence of a grown man in the house sent a shiver down my spine, an unsettling twist in the familiar rhythm of our lives. The boy I had once seen navigate the tumultuous waters of puberty, his voice faltering in the midst of conversation, now stood before me transformed. Broader shoulders filled out his frame, a deeper timbre resonated from his lips, and an air of quiet confidence enveloped him like a cloak. At first, my gaze didn't linger on him in that manner, but then something shifted, and I couldn't help but take notice. Everyone would. Last Thursday morning, the house was cloaked in an eerie silence, just the two of us lingering in its shadows. My husband had already departed for work, leaving the house shrouded in an eerie silence. In the heart of the kitchen I stood, the sharp knife glinting as it sliced through the vibrant fruit, each piece falling away like a promise of the day ahead. Clad in a delicate tank top and the softest cotton shorts, typically reserved for the quiet embrace of sleep, I felt a sense of vulnerability and ease wash over me. I still hadn't slipped on a bra. It hadn't crossed my mind. It's the attire I slip into when I seek solace within the walls of my home. The sound of his footsteps echoed softly as he entered the room behind me. I hesitated, the air thick with tension, before finally deciding to turn around. With a voice thick with sleep, he mumbled a groggy good morning, his grip tight around the power drill in his hand, as if it were a lifeline in the haze of dawn. He promised to tackle the cabinet door in the bathroom, a stubborn fixture that had been hanging precariously for weeks, waiting for someone to restore it to its rightful place. A smile crept across my face as I expressed my gratitude. Thank you. Unremarkable, yet somehow intriguing. A light exchange of words, nothing too serious. But then he hesitated, caught in a moment that felt suspended in time. A shiver ran down my spine, a premonition that something was lurking just beyond my sight. The oppressive silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, the kind that sends a shiver down your spine, the kind that lingers in the air when someone's gaze holds you captive, a moment stretched into eternity, a look that feels both intimate and unsettling. I shifted my body ever so slightly. In the gleaming surface of the microwave door, I caught a glimpse of him lurking, a shadow in the periphery of my vision. His gaze was fixed on my chest. Not a fleeting glance, not a hint of shame. Lost in a gaze, as if he had lost all sense of who he was. I can't fathom what compelled me to remain motionless. Perhaps it was the allure of the unknown. Perhaps there lies another possibility. Yet, I allowed him to gaze upon it. I lingered in the moment, unhurried to shield myself, refraining from casting blame upon him. With each slice of the melon, I focused intently on the task, feigning ignorance of the tension that hung in the air. Suddenly, a sharp clatter echoed through the room as plastic struck the cold tile floor. He let the drill slip from his grasp, the clatter echoing in the silence. It took us by surprise, leaving us both breathless. I spun around and he lunged to retrieve it, his cheeks flushed and eyes wide with surprise. "I'm sorry," he murmured, his voice laced with regret. "It just slipped from my grasp." With a subtle nod, he acknowledged the weight of the moment. Yet the charade continues. But the atmosphere had shifted. He dashed out of the kitchen, urgency propelling him forward. He muttered under his breath, a sense of urgency in his voice as he spoke of needing a screwdriver. As I lingered in the silence, a piece of cantaloupe clutched tightly in my hand. The world around me faded into the background. My heart raced with a ferocity I hadn't experienced in years. The tension in the air was palpable, a thick layer of unease that wrapped around them like a shroud. It was the sheer vitality that coursed through my veins. It was as if a switch had been flipped in a part of me that had lain dormant for ages. It slipped from my memory, a shadow lost in the depths of time. A shadow of shame looms over me. Yet, moments later, I ascended to my room, the door clicking shut behind me as I turned the lock with a deliberate finality. In that moment, clarity slipped through my fingers like sand, leaving only confusion in its wake. I reclined on the bed, clad in that same top, my gaze fixed on the ceiling above. My hands glided over my stomach, a reflexive motion that felt both familiar and unsettling. It was as if the act of reaching out to my own skin could unravel the mystery of the chaos that had just unfolded. It wasn't merely that he gazed, it was the intensity of his gaze, as if he craved my very presence. Not in a clumsy, bewildered manner typical of a college boy. Yet, he was a man acutely aware of his desires, tormented by the very longing that defined him. That gaze lingered in my mind, haunting me throughout the day. Each footstep echoed through the hallway, drawing my gaze like a moth to a flame, a pulse of anticipation thrumming in my chest. He lingered, heart racing, wondering if he would walk by. He pondered if he would dare to look once more. The air hung heavy around the table that night, silence enveloping the room like a thick fog. My husband chuckled, a glint of warmth in his eyes, as he remarked on the joy of having the family reunited once more. I willed a smile onto my face. Tyler's silence was palpable. His gaze remained fixated on the plate before him, as if it held the secrets of the universe. Yet, in that fleeting moment, I experienced it once more. Text. I implored him to hand over the salt, my voice barely a whisper in the charged air between us. As he extended his hand, our fingers grazed against each other, igniting a spark that lingered in the air. The same electrifying jolt surged through the air. His gaze flickered up to meet mine, if only for a fleeting moment, yet it conveyed a depth that words alone could never capture. As the last bite of dinner faded into silence, I lingered in the dimly lit kitchen, the clatter of plates echoing in the stillness as I prepared to tackle the mountain of dishes before me. He stood in the doorway, his gaze fixed on me, a silent observer in the shadows. A shiver ran down my spine, a palpable tension in the air, as if he were a shadow lurking just behind me, waiting for the moment I would turn around. Silence enveloped the moment, heavy and unyielding. He didn't either. Yet, within that oppressive stillness, a presence began to take shape. Inquiry, longing, endless potential awaits. As the night deepened, I found myself lying in bed beside my husband, the shadows dancing around us in the dim light. His body twisted away, the soft sound of his snoring filling the air like a gentle whisper in the night. The ceiling loomed above me, a familiar sight that held my gaze once more. This time, I was certain of what had transpired. A sense of anticipation washed over me as I pondered what lay ahead. What does it signify when a woman becomes aware of the way a man gazes at her? When that man is meant to be untouchable? When you become aware and find pleasure in it? Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I would become that woman. Yet here I stand. And thus, the adventure had only just begun. The following morning, I took great care to dress myself before descending the stairs. I couldn't bear the thought of reliving that moment in the kitchen, the tension thick enough to slice through the air. At least not by accident. I convinced myself I was embracing maturity, taking charge, that I was putting an end to it all. Yet, deep down, what I truly craved was power over my own fate. I was determined to prevent it from happening again, unless I chose to let it unfold. The sun blazed overhead, casting a relentless heat that enveloped everything in its path. The sweltering heat made every corner of the indoors feel like a stifling prison. My husband was set to be away all day at the job site, A client meeting that stretched late into the evening, shrouded in tension and anticipation. As the sun reached its zenith, I casually suggested to Tyler that we seize the moment and dive into the pool before the sweltering heat became too much to bear. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes, before finally giving a reluctant nod. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting encounter. Yet, deep down, I was aware that I had chosen my green bikini with intention. The fabric clings to the skin, drenched and alluring, dipping provocatively to draw the gaze of onlookers. As I stood there, my heart raced, anticipation coursing through my veins. The moment I caught sight of him through the sliding glass door, I knew it was time to step into the unknown. He had plunged into the depths of the water. Arms reached out, fingertips grazing the cool surface of the pool, as if yearning to dive into the depths below. As I brushed past him, silence enveloped the air. Yet his gaze clung to me, tracking each movement with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. A whisper of a sensation brushed against me, barely noticeable yet undeniably present. His gaze enveloped me, a cocoon of warmth that ignited the air between us. It took little effort to draw him into conversation, as he shared a few anecdotes about college life, weaving tales of his quirky roommates. A sense of ease began to wash over him. His laughter rang out, a little more vibrant than usual, and I couldn't help but smile at the way his eyes danced with a spark as they met mine. Not as a boy, but as someone fully conscious of every move I made, each subtle shift, each fleeting gaze. At a pivotal moment, he extended an invitation to fetch drinks. Light as a feather, a pair of icy seltzers awaited in the fridge, their chill promising a refreshing escape. As he returned, he extended his hand, presenting me with the can. Fingers lingered against mine, a fleeting touch that stretched into something electric and charged. My pulse quickened. It felt as though the masks we wore had finally slipped away, revealing the raw truth beneath. Neither of us was pretending anymore. Speak. In the heart of the bustling town stood a school, a place where dreams were forged and destinies intertwined. The air buzzed with the laughter and whispers of students, each carrying their own stories, hopes, and fears. Within its walls, friendships blossomed, rivalries ignited, and secrets lingered in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. Every corner held the promise of adventure, and every lesson was a step into the unknown, shaping the lives of those who dared to walk its halls. In the realm of sound, where melodies weave through the air like whispers of the soul, music emerges as a powerful force. It transcends the mundane, igniting emotions and painting vivid landscapes within the mind. Each note carries a story, a heartbeat that resonates with the deepest corners of our being. As the rhythm pulses, it beckons us to lose ourselves in its embrace, inviting us to dance through the shadows and light of our own experiences. In this world, every chord strikes a chord within us, echoing the universal language of life itself. In the sweltering heat of summer, the suburbs lay still, a vast expanse of monotony where time seems to stretch endlessly. The streets, once bustling with life, now echo with the distant hum of cicadas, their relentless song a reminder of the languid days that blend into one another. Lawns, perfectly manicured, stand as silent sentinels, while the sun beats down mercilessly, casting long shadows that seem to whisper secrets of a more vibrant life beyond the cul-de-sacs. Here, the air is thick with the scent of sun-baked asphalt, and his legs reached out toward mine, the cool water of the shallow end enveloping us in a world of shimmering blue. I remained utterly still. His foot brushed against mine beneath the water's surface, a subtle connection that sent ripples through the stillness. Remained in that place. I cracked a foolish joke about the agony of sunburn. He leaned in, his voice low and conspiratorial, asking if I needed sunscreen. I nodded, the decision escaping my lips before my mind could catch up. He slipped silently behind me, his presence a heavy shadow in the stillness. He squeezed the bottle, the lotion oozing out and pooling in his palms. I swept my hair to one side, my heart racing with every passing second. His hands moved with a deliberate slowness, each action steeped in purpose. It traveled from my shoulders, cascading down to the very center of my back. The touch was respectful, yet it held a haunting persistence. Within it lay a profound tenderness. Concentrate. He was weaving a spell with every stroke of the lotion on my skin. He was uncovering the layers of my being. His breath brushed against my neck, sending shivers down my spine. A shiver ran across my skin. In that fleeting moment, I let the darkness envelop me, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the veil of my eyelids. Silence enveloped the room as he reached the end, his lips sealed, leaving an air of anticipation hanging thick in the atmosphere. Recently relocated, yet the distance feels almost negligible. As I emerged from the shimmering pool, a towel lay in wait, and I lost my footing, the world tilting beneath me. As I pivoted to retreat into the shadows of the doorway, as my foot caught the unforgiving edge of the concrete, I stumbled forward, the world tilting dangerously beneath me. Not quite a complete descent, a sudden jolt surged through me, propelling me forward in an unexpected lurch. He seized me, with one arm wrapped tightly around my waist, a hand suddenly clamped around my wrist. His grip tightened, unyielding and fierce. His body was near. I gazed up at him, my breath coming in quick, ragged gasps. He clung on, his grip unwavering, as if the world around him had faded into a blur. I remained right there, unyielding. It was the first moment our proximity allowed me to catch his scent. The air was laced with a crisp scent, a delicate blend of faint cologne intertwined with the sharp tang of chlorine. He gazed down at me, his lips parting as if words were on the brink of spilling forth, yet he chose not to. He steadied me for a fleeting moment before abruptly turning away, leaving a lingering tension in the air. In the solitude of my locked bathroom, I slipped into a new outfit, the air thick with anticipation. Denial clung to me like a shadow, refusing to let me confront the tumult within. The heat radiating between my legs was far more intense than the sun's relentless glare. I found myself transfixed by my reflection, the minutes slipping away unnoticed as I stared into the depths of the mirror. A towel clung to my body, a fragile barrier against the world outside. Water cascaded down my back, each droplet a reminder of the storm that raged above. I gazed into the depths of my reflection, my voice barely a breath as I whispered secrets only the mirror could hear. What are you up to? This was something far deeper than a mere crush. This was something far more dangerous than mere flirting. This was a weight I could no longer brush aside with a chuckle. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself lost in a web of thoughts, assuring myself that this unsettling feeling would soon fade away. It was merely a fleeting instant, an unusual electric afternoon, one that would never come again. I shot a quick text to my husband, wondering if he'd like me to save him something to reheat later. Tyler strode into the kitchen, his bare skin glistening in the morning light, a towel draped around his neck, a silent testament to the intensity of the moment. Hair soaked, and inquired if I required assistance with chopping the vegetables. I came perilously close to uttering the word no. I found myself on the brink of urging him to ascend the stairs. Instead, I pressed the knife into his palm. In the kitchen, we danced around one another with an ease that felt as if it had been etched into our very souls for a lifetime. Perhaps we truly had. But never in this way. He never failed to let his hand graze the small of my back as he moved past me, a fleeting touch that sent shivers down my spine. His gaze never strayed to my lips, even as we spoke, a tension hanging in the air between each word. His gaze lingered on me, a silent weight that I felt more than once. And each time his gaze remained unwavering. Once the last bite was savored, I made my way to the sink, ready to tackle the mountain of dishes that awaited me. He remained propped against the counter, his gaze fixed intently on me. I could sense his presence, silent yet palpable. I remarked on the eerie silence that had settled around us. He insisted it was anything but quiet. He could hear the rhythm of my heartbeat. It was the first moment I chose silence over words. I was lost, unsure of the way forward. He slipped behind me once more, a mere breath away, his presence electric yet unyielding. His voice had dropped to a husky whisper. He insisted he wasn't attempting to create any awkwardness. He was aware of my marriage, that he held me in high regard. Yet, he found himself unable to escape the relentless thoughts of me. I should have ended it right there. I should have made him remember who I truly was. His stepmother loomed in the shadows, a figure shrouded in mystery and unspoken tension. The woman who had taken his father's place. Yet I held back. Instead, I pivoted, feeling the weight of the moment shift as I faced the unknown. My gaze locked onto him, gazed intently, and I beheld a man, not a boy, not a son. A man burdened by restraint, stood at the precipice of his own emotions, who had fought to maintain their distance, only to ultimately shatter under the weight of their own resolve. Silence enveloped me, a heavy shroud that stifled any thought of speaking. With my hands now dry, I brushed past him, the air thick with unspoken tension. As my shoulder grazed his chest, a spark ignited between us, a fleeting moment that held the weight of unspoken words and uncharted possibilities. Unhurried, deliberate, he remained behind, rooted in place. Yet he felt no compulsion to do so. The message resonated with undeniable clarity. That night sleep eluded me. Memories of the pool flooded my mind, the scent of lotion lingering in the air, and the electric closeness that wrapped around us like a warm embrace. The shift in his voice when he spoke to me in that manner was palpable. I was acutely aware of my actions, every decision deliberate and charged with purpose. Deep within, a fierce determination ignited. I was acutely aware of my desires. Deep down, I sensed that this was far from over. Far from it. I swore to myself that I would never allow it to unfold. I had already traversed countless boundaries within the depths of my thoughts. Desiring him was a different realm altogether. Revealing it to him was an entirely different matter.